Happy day today. What is it? The first week of November. So here is going fast. So amazing. Couple of so really and continuing for here. So thank you so much. Really appreciate. Always ask province, country, nice way. Practice how you introduce. Try to keep professional that because it's important in that assignment. So I hope that you I'm personally pretty but I went out and as I told you guys on this, I found my loading place and came home, spoke with my really can't after we action I open questions help that I can give. I also so happy to answer. Welcome to, but again, a lot of growth. So there's new people, province. Just to give. In addition to that, I almost forgot. I also article that I found that talks about and specifically it talks about complexity. Bring well, we'll see. We'll see what. So I already see. Yeah, which is great. So let me. So is it Satya? Thank you, Rex. Guys, I have been streaming pretty consistently for the last 5 months. You would think that by this time I'd be a pro at it. I just realized that I forgot to put in my microphone. I didn't move my microphone. You see, guys, I am a low budget operation. I don't have a fancy dedicated streaming studio. My streaming area is the same as my desk, right? This is where I work. This is where I do a lot of things. So I always have to put my microphone to the side. And when I'm ready to stream, I bring it back. You would think that after 5 months, I would already have that routine down. Because see, I have a software routine to get the stream up and running. But then I also have my little hardware routine. I gotta move my keyboard, I gotta bring in my microphone. Oh man, oh man. Thank you for that, Rex. Otherwise, I would have sat here just talking to all of you guys. Oh gosh. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry about that. So let me just give the brief intro again. If you're new, welcome. You're not the only person. My channel has been growing. Please let us know your city, state, province, country. We always ask people to introduce themselves, give you a nice, easy way to participate. Okay? So let me start going down this list. And again, I apologize for that mix-up. That is just that's a rookie mistake, guys. So I apologize for that. That's my mistake. So let me go back to my introductions. So Satya, I appreciate that it's your first time here. Thank you so much. Satya, we always ask people to introduce themselves. So let us know your city, state, province, country, please. Okay? Omar, thank you so much for joining us. Hello, Dennis. Omar from Egypt. Omar, welcome. I can't remember if this is your first time or not. I think it might be, right? So let us know, Omar. We'd love to hear more about you. So let me know if it's your first time. But welcome. You know, I get a lot of viewers from Northern Africa, so really appreciate my my Northern African followers. Satya, come on, buddy. You can't just tell me India. India's a big country. You take the time to introduce yourself, okay? Denelson, good friend Denelson says, not sure if it's on my end, but your words are getting cut out. Yeah. Yeah, Denelson, I'm sorry. You would think I'd be better at streaming than I am. Oh man, how embarrassing. Sorry guys. Thanks for putting up with that. Rex, our good friend says, Rex, good morning. Hey Rex, how are you? Thanks so much for being here. Rex, you are by far my most consistent moderator, so really appreciate you, Rex. Thank you so much. Yeah, Omar says audio issues there too. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah. You would think that I have everything down when it comes to streaming, but you learn something new every day, guys, and you can still make mistakes, unfortunately. So sorry about that. How embarrassing, gosh, you know? I like to tell people, hey, don't worry about it. I'm a trained professional. I know what I'm doing. But clearly, you don't know what you're doing if you don't have the microphone in front of you, right? Okay, so Omar says, it's not my first time. I've been following for a couple of months. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Omar. I remember most people, you know, and every once in a while I do have to ask if it's the first time or not. But Omar, I appreciate your continued support. I cannot tell you guys enough how much it encourages me when people come back, you know, because it maybe makes me think that I'm on the right track, right? So thanks so much for being here, Omar. So again, guys, if you have questions or anything you want to talk about, any discussions you want to have, please feel free to put them in the chat. But let me know where you're from. Let me know your city, state, province, country. That way we can kind of, you know, help to get to know each other. Really easy way for you to participate. And then we can, you know, just kind of go from there. I've been really happy that in the past, you know, 3-4 streams, we've had people who say, hey, you know, I've always just watched, but this is the first time I'm introducing myself. And that's fantastic, right? You know, I really welcome that. So if that applies to you, if you want to, you know, just kind of come out from the shadows and introduce yourself, you're welcome to do that. Khalif, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well this morning. Khalif says, good morning, sir, everyone. Good morning to you too, Khalif. I think we're off to a good morning, minus the initial audio issues I had earlier. But you know, you guys didn't miss a whole lot. I was just talking about how I had a great day yesterday. I finished my stream. I went to vote. I did my voting, my civic duty. I came back, had my lunch, spoke with my parents. My parents are doing great. So, you know, just doing well over here. Doing well. Akshay from Gatul, India. Nice. Welcome, Akshay. I think that's your name, right? Akshay, I think is the name, right? Same here. I always watch your videos. Yeah, well, great. Thank you so much, Akshay, for, you know, being willing to come out and introduce yourself. So, really glad you're here. Gatule, India. I can't say I know where Gatule is. I'm going to guess that's to the north of India. Is that North or South India? Would love to know. Omar says, yes, you're a great influence. Thank you for your efforts. I appreciate that, Omar. Thank you guys. You know, hey, you guys make this stream great, right? If you guys weren't here, there'd be no stream. So, thanks to you guys too. Stefan, let us know where you're from. I think this is your first time, but Stefan, we always ask people to let us know, city, state, province, country. Let us know where you're watching from in the world. Okay. Ridwans. Hey, Ridwans, we always ask people to introduce themselves. So let us know your city, state, province, country. It's a good way to participate. Satya, same goes for you. If you could please let us know your city, state, province, country, as an introduction. So guys, this is something that I do for a couple of reasons. One, it helps to keep the chat very professional, right? Generally speaking, on my streams, we experience very little spam, very little, people getting out of line, and I appreciate that from all of you. But I think, introducing yourself helps to set that professional tone, right? So I think that's helping. And two, remember that data science is still new. It's still a science. It's still a profession. So how you present yourself and how you carry yourself in that profession, very important. It's going to help you in your delivery, in your professionalism, in the acceptance of your results, right? Because remember, you're going to be like selling your results, your algorithmic results, to other business people. And if you can't walk into a meeting and properly introduce yourself and say, "Good morning, everybody. My name is Dennis. I'm your chief data scientist. This is my team. I hope everyone is having a good morning today. I'd like to talk to you about this, and this." If you can't do that, then you're going to have a very hard time selling your ideas, selling your algorithms, right? You're going to have like these managing directors, who are like very experienced business people, most likely older than you, right? They're going to say, "Why should I listen to this clown that can't even introduce themselves properly? I don't care what they're going to offer me. They didn't even say hello. They didn't even introduce themselves. Why would I listen to this guy? This guy's not a professional," right? So that's what I'm trying to encourage here in the chats and why I ask that. Because how you present yourself is like at least 50% of selling an algorithm or talking to somebody about their business or having somebody trust you and utilize you as a trusted advisor. Super important, right? So keep that in mind, okay? So Stefan says from Macedonia. Okay, cool, Stefan. Welcome. Glad to have you here. I have data science this semester. Hope this will help. Yeah, Stefan, I think you're in the right place, we try to introduce real world data science here, right? When I give you guys advice, I'm giving it to you from my experience, from the reality that I have lived. So Stefan, welcome. You're welcome to keep on coming back. Also on Sundays, we have a little bit of a longer tutorial, which tends to be more technical and definitely more coding and things along those lines, right? But yeah, welcome. Good luck with your studies. Let us know how it comes. If there's something we can help you with, please let us know. On most streams, I do take questions. If you get stuck on something and you don't understand a concept, or, like today, I'll bring an article that we can all discuss. I have an article queued up for us to look at, and we can go from there. Okay? Fatima, our good friend Fatima from Meekness, Morocco says, "Hi, sir." Hey, Fatima, how are you? Hope that your school is going well and your studies are going well. I think you're still in your first year, so let us know how those studies are going, Fatima. Or you know what, Fatima? Let me know what time it is in Morocco right now, because I know that in the U.S. we went through a time change this past week, and let me know what time it is for you. I'm curious because you're such a consistent supporter. Thank you so much. I hate mispronouncing people's names, but is it Shad? Can we call you Shad or Toshad? Tashad? Let me know, okay? Because I hate mispronouncing people's names. Hello, sir. Good to see you. How are you? Also, I'm from Nepal. Welcome. Believe it or not, I have quite a few viewers in Nepal. I don't know exactly how that happened. I'm big in North Africa and Nepal. But welcome. I want to say it's your first time here because I don't recognize the name. But if there's something I can help you with, any questions, please let us know. Okay. But thank you so much for being here. Lots of participants on Instagram this week for some reason. Stefan says thank you. Yeah, and thank you too for being here. I'm approaching 100,000 followers on YouTube, so it's causing me to reflect a lot on the things that I've gone through. And as I've told you guys before, there were plenty of streams when I first started where like nobody came. I shut them down after 10 minutes because there was literally nobody in there. I was just talking to myself, right? And you can find these on my YouTube, by the way, if you look at the early ones. So really grateful for all of you. I try to give you guys the best content, and I thank you guys for coming back and contributing and asking questions, because ultimately, you guys make the stream great too. So thank you guys for that. Okay. Stefan says, I will look forward to attend as much as possible. Yeah, cool. Yeah, come on back, Stefan. I see that you're on Instagram. You're welcome to stay on Instagram, or you can join us on YouTube. The widescreen format, some people tend to find more comfortable, but it's really up to you. Fatima, it's good. Thanks for asking. It's 4 p.m. Okay, cool. So it's not too late for you. I was worried that maybe it was a little bit too late for people in that part of the world. Yassine, our good friend Yassine, how are you? We were gonna send a search party. We were gonna send people to go look for you, Yassine. Hope you're well. Hello, Sir Yassine from Tangier, Morocco. How are you, my friend? I hope you're doing well. Thanks so much for coming back. Hope that things are good in your part of the world. So thanks so much for coming back, Yassine. So good to see you. Yeah, and you can see we're getting a lot of new people, Yassine. So we missed you. It's good to have new people, but I always appreciate my longtime supporters like you. All right, so I'm not seeing any more introductions, so let's go ahead and start looking at some of the questions. So Omar's going to kick us off. If I may ask, considering the rapid changes in AI and the job market, is dedicating 2 years to a master's program in Germany a smart investment for my long-term career growth, master's in data science? That's a really good question, Omar. And I can see the hesitation because I'm assuming it's a big investment on your part, both time and financial, right? So I don't think that the job market should change your view, but I do think that your first part, the rapid changes in AI, should definitely influence your view, right? Because, as most of you who have watched me before know, I'm a big advocate of preparing now for AI, for being an AI-enabled data scientist. That's how we will all be working in the future. So, Omar, I would never want to actively discourage someone from seeking more education, seeking more, to better themselves, right? But I think that there might be a case to be said that your master's studies would very quickly evaporate. Like the benefit of the studies would very quickly evaporate because of AI, right? I think that there is a case to be made to say, well, I'm still going to pursue a master's, but I'm going to go after a master's in finance or a master's in business or marketing or something else where I will be able to use data science skills. I think that would be probably more beneficial, right? If you guys think about our Sunday courses, we've done quite a few models across the series and across all the things we've done, right? We've done quite a few models, quite a few pieces of code, like when we did the GPU versus the CPU, where we start with nothing. In some of those classes, we literally said, hey, we want to work with this. What are the frameworks that you know for this? And then ChatGPT will write it out for you, right? So that quickly evaporates some of those benefits from a master's in data science, right? So if you know that you can get that code and that type of information, what can't you get from ChatGPT? Like, are you gonna ask ChatGPT to train you on how to price bonds and the stock market and commodities? Probably not, right? That's something you'd probably want like formal instruction in, right? So that's why I'm suggesting something like a master's in finance, or even like a master's in accounting or something. I mean, I don't know where your interests lie, but go for the things that you probably wouldn't have ChatGPT teach you or do for you, right? Like, would you trust ChatGPT to do a client's tax return for you? Probably not, right? You'd probably still want to do that yourself. So do those types of things. But I think you have a valid concern that the rise in AI is going to definitely diminish like what you're going to learn from a master's in data science, especially over the next 2 years, guys. Because I'm sure all of you realize this, but in case you don't, we're in for a lot of changes over the next 2 years, right? And certainly over the next 5 years, right? So yeah, Omar, I appreciate that you're taking like a little bit of a forward-looking perspective and saying, well, wait a minute, is this really my best investment, right? So Omar, that's the thought that I would give you, kind of off the top of my head. So let me know what you think, or if you have any other like follow-up questions or whatnot. But I think you're right to be concerned. I think you're right to say, well, what if I just took the next 6 months, let's say, to work on my prompting skills, and I'm going to become really good at prompting, and I'm going to find the weaknesses that ChatGPT might have, because we as a class on Sundays, we have run into places where ChatGPT really couldn't help us, right? So there'll still be some things that you need to learn, but do you need a formal master's program to learn that? Maybe, maybe not, right? So let me know what you guys think. Feel free to put something in the comments. But I think it's a valid question. I think it's a valid question, and I appreciate, why you're asking that. All right. Yassine says, I missed the streams too. I was buried with a project where I had to learn Linux and set up a Kubeflow cluster in a cluster. Oh my gosh. Is that a personal project, Yassine, or is that like a university thing? Like, are they making you do that? I mean, that sounds relatively sophisticated. So that's great. That's great. Yeah. If you're able to share more, let us know, Yassine. But glad to see you back, my friend. Rex says, are there master's degree that combine training in data science along with some domain industry expertise? There's supposed to be. I've heard that this exists. Does it in reality? Not as much as you'd think. The overall sense I've gotten from executives that I speak with are that most master's students do not have practical skills. So, Rex, if these programs exist, they are few and far in between, and they're usually not very good. That's the sense that I've received from the curriculums I've looked at. I did an interview for a school. They were having like this tech summit, so they interviewed me for their tech summit. What else? And like I said, just the conversations that I've had, right? I don't see it as being very effective. It's not very widespread and not very effective. And also, I think that I'm not trying to justify that, because I think that practical experience is extremely important. But it's very hard to just step into a data science project. Like, let's say there was a master's program out there, right? That that had some sort of internship component or something, right? Well, one, how long is that going to be? Maybe 3-4 months, right? I mean, I can't imagine it'd be a whole year because most master studies are only 2 years, right? So it's probably like, like a semester's worth of a practicum, right? So 3-4 months. One, it's very hard to integrate somebody into your project for such a short time, right? Very difficult to do that. Like, yes, they'll bring you on and they'll show you a couple things, but you're not going to be like the main guy at the keyboard, like executing stuff, right? You're going to be like a support role. And two, there's not many data science projects that are only 3 or 4 months long, right? I mean, most data science projects tend to be a little bit longer than that. So even if they had that as part of their curriculum, and even if you got into a good project that, really puts you to work, you're still only going to see like a small slice of it, right? You're never going to see like an end-to-end project in 3 to 4 months. Like that's super aggressive, right? So, that's kind of like where I see this, where it's just not common and it's not easy for a company to do that, to say, okay, send me 2 of your master students and I'll really show them what to do, right? So that's my answer to you, Rex. I don't think they're common, and I don't think that there's a lot of them out there. So I hope that answers your question, Rex. Noor, welcome to the chat. I think it's your first time. Please let us, we always ask people to introduce themselves, so please let us know your city, state, province, country, all of that good stuff, okay? Yassine says, in university, it was proposed and I volunteered with my friend. So basically we had to install Linux, learn enough to work with it, set up a Kubernetes cluster with our computers and run Kubeflow and run a machine learning project using it. Okay, so you were doing it as a proof of concept for the rest of your university? Is that what you were doing? Because that sounds pretty high level, Yassine. Like, that's not easy. So good for you. I'm not an expert on Kubernetes, so I really can't, speak to that. But as far as learning Linux, good for you. I think that every data scientist should have at least some background in Linux, right? So good for you for doing that. And you had to install it too. Jeez. Oof. You really got after it. So good for you. Learn enough to work with it, which is what all data scientists should do. And set up all the Kubernetes and run a machine learning project using it. Okay. Well, good for you, Yassine. That's fairly advanced for a student or even like an early career professional. I haven't done an install Linux in a very long time, but hopefully, you're getting some good school credit. Hopefully you're feeling very accomplished by that, because I don't think that's something that every student is going to do. So good for you. That sounds like good experience. Let us know what you thought about it, but I mean, I hope you feel like it gave you a lot of good experience. It certainly sounds that way. Rex says, thanks for that insight. Yeah, you're welcome. The data science education landscape is still a changing landscape, right? I mean, there's only been masters in data science for 5-6 years? And I'm talking about the early ones, right? Some universities only introduced in the last 2 to 3 years. And then the undergrad, the undergrad is still kind of, developing, right? I mean, I know there's a few good programs out there, but it's a changing landscape, Rex, right? You ask me again in 2 years, I might give you a whole different answer, right? But yeah, I'm usually very careful on who I align myself with as far as looking at curriculums or, different interviews that I've been asked to do or whatnot, because you just never know where it's all going to end up. You just never know. The Leaf says, good job, Yassine. Yeah, good job, Yassine. For a student level project, that's pretty advanced. So good for you. Good for you. All right, guys. So let's go to the article. I did have an article prepared for us to look at. Yassine says, it's really not easy, but I learned a lot. Hey, that's the benefit, right? That's the trade-off, right? As long as you're learning, as long as you're moving forward, as long as you're progressing, that's all you can ask for, right? So good for you, Yassine. Okay, so Noor, thank you so much for the introduction. Hey, sorry for not introducing myself. I graduated this year from University of Jordan with a BS degree in CE. I'm currently, I'm assuming that's computer engineering, by the way. I'm currently unemployed and live in KSA. Shoot, I'm sorry. I don't recognize KSA. I know I've seen it before, but I can't remember. I'm 23, happy to be here. Okay, cool. All right, so let me go back to your previous question. I graduated this year with a computer engineering degree and decided to start learning data science on my own because I have a background in Python and AI. I appreciate your advice. Great, yeah, welcome. How did you get a background in Python and AI? I'm curious about that. Because, yeah, or what is the background in AI, I guess is what I should ask, right? Because if you have a background in AI, then that should already give you a little bit of an understanding of data science, right? But either way, you're in the right place. You know, I try to teach real world data science. So if you do have specific questions or career questions or whatnot, I try to give you the real world view of, you know, what's actually happening in data science. But let us know if you want to share a little bit more about that background or any specific questions I can help you with. But keep on coming back. For somebody like you, maybe you would benefit a lot from our Sunday sessions. On Sundays, they tend to be a little bit longer, a little bit more technical. And right now, we are running a series on how to actually get a project off the ground, right? How do you run a project from end to end? So this week is going to be part 6. We're already well into the ideation phase where we're exploring. We're kind of initially vetting out some of the ideas that we're doing that have been proposed. So something like that would probably appeal to you because that's not something that's really taught in academic programs. Academic programs don't really tell you how to manage projects, right? How to work with clients. So that's what I'm doing on Sundays. So you're welcome to join us, you know, any time you like. Shubham, we always ask people to introduce themselves. So please let us know your city, state, province, country, and I'm glad you're here. Okay. All right. So let me switch over to my classroom view here. So very, very interesting article that came out from TechCrunch. And just to give you guys some background on this, as most of you may know, we had our elections here in the United States recently, just yesterday. And obviously, when you have elections like that, there's a lot of media leading up to it, a lot of advertisements, right? So it's a big time for media companies because this is when they make a lot of money, right? A lot of advertisements going out. And obviously, one of the big newspapers here in the US is the New York Times. And the New York Times has had some challenges with its staffing, with unhappy workers, right? And also, in case you don't know, the New York Times, they still do a print edition, but by and large, they are much more of a online media source now, right? They have a very large built out, you know, website and mobile app and paywalls and subscriptions. They're very much a tech-oriented company right now. Sarat says, hey, Dan from Nairobi, Kenya, Africa. Welcome, Dan. Nice to see you in the chat. I think it's your first time, so welcome. You know, you're welcome to hang out. Really appreciate you being here. Shubham says, I'm from India, from Pune, India. Well, great. Welcome, Shubham. Hope you stick around. Hope you keep on coming back. I'm going to get to your questions after I finish this article, okay? Okay. So these workers that were upset with conditions or wages, whatever the case may be, they decided to have a strike. They decided to have a strike just prior to the elections. You can see that they set a November 4th deadline. The elections here in the US were November 5th. So obviously, as kind of a pressure tactic, they quit or they went on strike right before the elections, right in the busy period for somebody like a newspaper, like a media company that the New York Times is, right? So there's a little bit of unhappiness here that it talks about. They wanted an annual 2.5% wage increase, and they also wanted to say, hey, there's a remote work element to it, right? That right now the New York Times expects you to be there 2 days in the office, 3 days at home, but they wanted to turn that into a more of a secure agreement, right? Because it sounds like it was something that's just temporary, maybe might be changing and all that stuff, right? So this is kind of like what they were demanding, right? So they went ahead and they went on strike, right? And the New York Times criticized the strike 2 days ahead of the presidential election, right? Basically, the New York Times said, hey, what are you doing 2 days before the election? People are relying on us for information. This is kind of a bad move on your part, right? So that's the core of the disagreement that we're looking at. So Perplexity stepped in. The CEO of Perplexity came in and said, hey, we're an AI company. We write things. We have LLMs that write things. Would you like us, our AI articles, to come in and help replace some of your content, right? Because at the end of the day, New York Times, a digital media company, their product is content, right? So Perplexity came in and said, can we help? Can we replace those workers? Can our AI create the content that you need? So obviously, and by the way, this is the tweet that went out, the X statement that went out, right? So obviously this resulted in some pushback, right? Because on X, I'm gonna read this because it has some terms that maybe aren't known outside of the United States. Many on X immediately castigated Srinivas for acting as a scab, a derogatory term for people willing to perform the jobs of striking workers. It's widely considered disreputable behavior in terms of labor and equity. That's a weird choice of words, disreputable. By undercutting collective action, scabs limit the ability of workers to bargain in those positions of power. So in a summed up way, right? When somebody tries to step in and says, okay, well, if those striking workers don't want to work, I'll take their job. That makes me a scab. And that's looked down upon, right? Because now I'm the person willing to, kind of come in and take somebody else's job, right? But this is going another step, right? Because this is saying, hey, I'm going to have my AI come in and replace all of those jobs. What do you guys think about that? What do you think about that? Is that a net positive or a net negative? Because now they're basically saying, hey, maybe you don't need so many reporters. Or maybe you can end this strike, but you only need to bring half the staff back. Perplexity will take the other half. So I want you to think about this from different perspectives. And feel free to pick one and share it in the comments. How do you feel if you're one of these workers, one of these reporters for the New York Times that's on strike? Being a reporter is not easy, right? It's a profession that you dedicate yourself to. So we have to have some empathy for those reporters. How do you feel if you're Perplexity? Let's say you're a worker at Perplexity and you see your CEO doing this. Are you excited about it? Are you kind of down about it? What do you think? I can kind of see it both ways. Like, do you feel good about your AI, like, putting people out of a job? Right? Because the New York Times is pretty big, right? They produce a lot of content. And now you, as a data scientist, are contributing to hundreds of people being laid off. I don't know if there's a number in here. Let me look really quickly. I know it's called the Tech Guild, November 4th. Yeah, it doesn't give a number. But, it's the New York Times, so I'm going to assume it's not just a couple people. It's probably a couple hundred. Is what I'm guessing, right? The workers' representatives provide software support and data analysis for the New York Times on the business side of the outlet. Yeah, so I mean that's not a small department, and you, Perplexity employee, are working for the company that's putting them out of business. But hey, you're still employed too, though, right? Your product's out there, so maybe it makes you feel good too, right? I could see the argument where somebody would say, hey, look, it's the sign of the times. AI is coming. Right? So maybe you feel good about it. Let me know. And then, for the third perspective, how do you feel about it let's say you were an executive at the New York Times. Do you accept this offer? Do you obviously there'd be people issues there, right? But do you accept that AI could be writing a lot of your content? Like, do you like the quality? Do you trust the quality of that content? Like, do you think it's ready for that? Because it's your reputation that you're staking now, right? You're going to be the executive that okayed your company going to AI written articles. Or, AI data analysis, or, all the roles that these workers did, right? How do you feel about that? I don't know. That's a tough decision, right? It's certainly pioneering, right? They would be the first large newspaper to do that, right? So how do you, as the New York Times executive, knowing what you know from data science and AI, how do you feel about that? What do you guys think? I'm giving you different perspectives there, right? And let me give you a fourth one, the last one. How do you feel as a reader of these articles? Because there's consumers too, right? What about the consumers? The consumers, are they going to detect a difference? Do they need to know that it was an AI article? Are you going to continue your membership? Maybe you want a cheaper membership. Why should I be paying you $20 a month, Mr. New York Times, if you're using AI? You just replaced, like, let's just say 100 people on your staff. Why are you charging me the same? So do you as a consumer value an AI product less than you would? Some people would say yes, right? If AI is going to write your articles, then I only want to pay you half of what I usually pay you for a human article type of subscription, right? What do you guys think? Let me know. I think there's a lot of things to consider there, right? A lot of different perspectives. And I'm sharing this with all of you because these are the conversations that I have with myself in my head. Because one, I know that this is the process that companies go through. Two, because some of my clients are going to ask me these things, right? I always have to look at things from an executive perspective because those are the people that I aim to advise, right? And three, it's kind of a societal effect, right? Like, if they decide to hire, Perplexity or use AI more, whoever it is, that has an effect on you as the consumer, right? It has like a trickle down effect, right? So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And by the way, guys, I forgot to mention that I can only go an hour today because I do have a client call after my stream today. Casual Economist says, hello, Dennis in chat. I've been sick for the past few days. I'm starting to feel a little better. Oh no! I hope you're doing well out there. Hope you're doing well out there in Minneapolis. Let us know if there's a way we can support you or anything we can do for you. Excuse me, but glad to hear that you're feeling better. And glad to see that, glad to see that you're back. Thanks for being here. Lakshmi, our good friend Lakshmi says, morning, Dennis and all. How are you, Lakshmi? Hope you're doing well. Okay, so Lakshmi is contributing to our discussion, and feel free to, put your thoughts in the comments below. Lakshmi says, very bad. Being an opportunist is not good. There is always a good time to introduce things. That's my view. Yeah. I hear you, Lakshmi, right? This is, it's a little bit of an underhanded move, right? Now, don't misunderstand me. I mean, I think that this Perplexity guy, he doesn't have skill, right? He's not a strategic thinker, right? Because it's not rational for us to think that other companies didn't approach the New York Times, right? Like OpenAI probably approached them, right? But you don't do it in such a public way, right? So this Perplexity guy, he ain't smart, right? You got to be subtle with these things. But Lakshmi, to your point, when is a good time to introduce these things? Like, is there ever going to be a good time? I think the public way that he delivered it is just dumb, right? But we all know that AI is coming. I think that people, if you look at the surveys that are out there, people have accepted that, my job could be at threat by AI, right? So Lakshmi, I'm not saying that this is my view, right? Because I do think there's a lot of issues here we need to consider. I'm very empathetic to people that are going to be affected by this. But I'm just going to play the other side here, Lakshmi, right? It has to start somewhere, right? Like, it has to start somewhere. If we're willing to accept that AI is very advanced and, it's coming, it's only going to get better, why shouldn't it start here? Right? Like, it has to start somewhere. So what do you guys think about that? Not just Lakshmi, but anybody can answer that. Right? Because we keep on saying this, right? I think all of us are in agreement that AI is only going to get better. There are some jobs that are at threat. It's got to start sometime, guys, right? Again, not saying that's my view. I'm empathetic to this article, to the people in the article. I used to live in the New York area, but it has to start somewhere. I'm just playing the other side here, guys. Shubham says, since it's your first time, I want to kind of move your chat here up. So Shubham says, from my perspective, the Perplexity should say this publicly. Shubham, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but did you say did you mean to say should not say this publicly? Maybe you mistyped something there. Or don't say this publicly. Let me know. Let's clarify that, please. It is accordingly a right time to. So Shubham continues. It is accordingly a right time for people to understand that AI can take away jobs if we give any chance for it to come into the picture. Yeah. Yeah, but Shubham, so I'm sorry, I can't figure out whether you're for this or I guess, okay, you said, yeah, do not say this publicly. Yeah, I hear you on that. And you know what, Shubham? You're reminding me of another perspective on this. So guys, again, coming back to the perspectives that I shared with you before. How do you feel as a data scientist now sharing your work with Perplexity, or having Perplexity scrape your work, your code, your finished projects? How do you feel about that now? How do you think these articles, these reporters who wrote these articles, who did the, how do you think they feel? Right? In a way, it's kind of like digging your own grave, right? The more I write, the more I feed AI, the quicker my job gets taken away. Right? Like, you can make that argument. And we've talked a little, I've made some content before about this, about how there's a lot of graphic artists out there who are using these programs to help to use like anti-scraping by AI, right? Because if you're a graphic designer, it's the same thing, right? You're just digging your own grave with the more graphics or more art that you put out there, right? You're just making the AI better. Maybe not tomorrow, but next year, the year after that, right? So how do you feel about that? Maybe we as data scientists should be more protective of our work, just like the artists are. Maybe, right? And again, guys, I'm not saying these are my views. I'm just playing the other side here. I'm just giving you guys to think about. Let me jump back up, because I just wanted to get Shubham's thoughts there. So Yassine says, from the Perplexity perspective, the replacement will happen sooner or later. So that move to be the one to take benefit from is just an attempt to take over the market for. Yeah, sure, Yassine, I see that. Right? That's probably what this CEO would tell you, right? Hey, I'm in the AI business, and if it's not me, somebody else will. I just want to be first. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's the very pro AI view, right? And maybe we as data scientists should share that more, because we want to work in the AI field, right? So yeah, Yassine, I see that point. From the human perspective, it is important to have empathy, but what's more important to me is spread awareness of the fact that AI is coming and we all have to adapt. It's more helpful. Yep, I hear you on that. We do have to adapt. Definitely agree with that. Yassine says, regarding the customer experience, I think that more of a concern for the New York Times. They have to evaluate the work of AI and decide whether it's a good move or not, and deliver AI content to their clients. Well, I think that you're giving more of the executive view there, right? I think that's more of like the New York Times. That's not quite the customer part. I think that what you're talking about here is definitely more for the executive view. For the customer part, Yassine, how do you feel about paying for AI content? That's really kind of what I'm asking, and maybe I should have been more clear. That's my fault. But how do you feel about paying AI content? Because before, if you were paying like $20 a month for the New York Times, and you knew those are human written articles and all that, right? Do you feel differently now that it's AI articles? And by the way, 100 people lost their job too, but your subscription didn't change? Like, maybe you should be paying less, right? That's really more what I meant by the customer side. But I think you're giving some very valid points here, right? That as an executive, how do you, like you mentioned, evaluate the work of AI, but how do you do that? Like A/B testing? Like I guess you'd push out some A/B testing to a random set of customers, right? Maybe that's a start. I'm sure there's other techniques, but how do you do that? How do you effectively do that? And over what time period, right? Maybe AI is better at writing some stories than others. Another thing to consider is that a lot of these newspapers, they have their own view, right? They have their own voice. So maybe you shouldn't grade the quality of the AI against what customers think, you should grade it against your voice on what does the AI match your voice, like your intent. And also kind of what I'm really saying is your bias, right? Because, newspapers do tend to have a bias. What if the AI starts writing stuff that doesn't represent your voice and your bias? That's a problem, right? So good points, Yassine. Lots to think about there. Be fit, be happy. We always ask people to let us know their city, state, province, country, please. Party next door, party next door. Did we get where you're from? Let us know where you're from. Your city, state, country, province. It's good to introduce yourself, right? Be professional. Carry yourself in a professional way. So if you could please do that. Okay, so let's step away from the article. Let's help our new friend Noor. Noor, I don't want to ignore your question because I know it's your first time. I took a course on ML and AI and data science with pandas. They were mostly theoretical, but I feel like DS is the best career path for me because every other field of CS are hard for me. Ooh, okay. Okay, so when you say that data science is the best career path, are you trying to insult us and tell us that it's easy code? Oh, CS is too hard, so I better go learn some easy code like data science. Did you just offend us by telling us that data science code is easy? Come on. All right, I'm just giving you a hard time, but data science code is not always easy, okay? And the data science part that really helps you also is the soft skills. The communication, the creativity, the ability to collaborate with other scientists. That's really kind of like where the win is. So are you ready for that? Is that something that appeals to you? Is that something you knew about? Because the way I'm reading your statement is that you're like flowing water, right? Water follows the path of least resistance, right? I don't see data science as being the path of least resistance. I don't think that you're going to find all aspects of it easier than computer science. That's my guess. But let me know. Maybe it's possible that I misunderstood your statements. So let me know, Noor. Okay, be fit, be happy is Happy Singh from India. Great. Thank you so much, Happy. Appreciate you introducing yourself. So be fit, be happy says, but what should be the approach as big tech and AI will be coming? Yeah. Happy that kind of relates to my previous statement, right? It has to start somewhere. Why shouldn't it start with the New York Times? And that might be, kind of like that CEO's perspective also, right? Going back to Yassine's comment, he just wanted to be first. And there's from a capitalist perspective, right? If we take the empathy out of it, which we shouldn't, but if we do, why somebody has to be first? Why not Perplexity, right? So I hear you, Happy, right? I mean, maybe there isn't an approach. Or maybe this is a way for us to, like, an article like this, an experience like this, is kind of part of that ramp up, right? Maybe this is the first step to kind of just put it in people's mind, put it out in the public to say, hey, look, we had this situation where people could have really been replaced. So maybe it happens here, maybe it doesn't, but at least it's in the public consciousness, right? That could be part of that start. So something to think about, right? Narinder, we asked people to introduce themselves, so please let us know your city, state, province, country. Appreciate that. Yassine says, I felt the insult from yesterday. Yassine, so you're talking. Okay, I'm guessing that's like a saying in Morocco. Felt the insult from us. Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure that Noor insulted all of us. By the way, just kidding, just kidding. Shubham says very true. Yeah, Shubham. You know, maybe Perplexity could have found a different way to have expressed this, right? But like I said, though, it's naive to think that other AI companies didn't approach the New York Times, right? I mean, I'm sure OpenAI made a call to them, right? Maybe just not as publicly. But yeah, it's a different time we're going to, right? Be fit, be happy says, right? Yeah, happy. I mean, it's got to start somewhere, right? It has to start somewhere. At least in this scenario, it's a little bit public, right? At least we kind of know about it a little bit, right? If you guys saw the release or the article that was out last week from Google, you know, the Google CEO, right? Talked about how 25% of their code at Google is now being written by AI, right? And I was not surprised by that because I've been telling you guys that that's coming, right? You know, that, you know, your trivial coding tasks will not be done by you. There's nothing you can't code anymore because ChatGPT is your personal assistant, right? But nobody would have guessed before that release that it was 25%, right? Google's kind of been doing that quietly on internal code, right? I don't think they said any specific department, but you know, they said that internally, you know, on their internal stuff, it's 25% already, right? Well, that number is not going to go down. It's only going to go up, right? So Google is doing that internally. You have to assume that they can't be the only one. You know, Meta is certainly doing something similar, right? Or other places, other tech companies, right? So what do you do then, right? Like, does that make you feel better that it's happening privately instead of publicly like this article? Maybe, maybe not, right? So that's another thing to think about, right? How public it is or it is not. Kind of scary on both sides. So something to think about. All right, last call for comments there, guys. Last call for comments. But I think it's an interesting article. And you know, overall, I want to encourage all of you to start looking at things like this, right? Yes, data science is about Python. It's about code. It's about being creative and all the other things I tell you. But there's also a business to data science, right? Data science is an industry, right? So I want to encourage all of you to keep on reading articles like this. You know, read the hardware articles, read the executive changes and all this other stuff, right? Because that's part of being a data scientist. That's part of being in not just a job, but in being in a profession, right? A good professional keeps up with their industry trends, industry outlooks, right? So I want to encourage all of you to keep on doing that, okay? All right, guys. So as I said, I do have to keep myself to an hour today because I do have a client phone call I want to get ready for. But I want to thank all of you for all of the time that we spent together. I want to thank all of the new people that joined us today. I know a couple of you introduced yourself for the first time, so I really appreciate that you did that. And we're just going to keep growing. You know, that's the beauty of the channel. It keeps on growing. So thank you so much for all of that. So as always, please be safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. And I'll see you next time.